Hi, my name is Zephan Collins, and today I want to ask you something simple. When was the last time you let yourself have fun in public? Not just smiled, not just nodding along to music in your headphones. I mean really, freely, unapologetically had fun. In a park, on a street corner, at a waterfront. If you have to think about it, this is for you. Black people often struggle with allowing themselves the freedom to have fun in public space. Some call it double consciousness, others call it respectability politics, but whatever name you put on it, it all points to the same thing. Black people don't feel free to breathe in public. And here in Baltimore, that feeling has a particular weight in some of our best communities. Fells Point, the historic waterfront neighborhood many of us walk through today for brunch or a day of shopping, was once the site where enslaved men, women, and children were marched in chains down Pratt Street to the docks. Frederick Douglass, who lived on Philpott Street, right here in Fells Point, wrote about lying awake at night, listening to the footsteps and cries of the enslaved passing outside his door. The same water we now stand beside and photograph, those ships carried human beings south to auction. And yet, despite all that, black people built something here. Free black residents organized churches, established schools, and formed communities in the narrow alleys of this neighborhood. Frederick Douglass taught himself to read here, caulking ships at the Fells Point docks before escaping to freedom. Placemaker Jay Pitter writes that black public joy is so powerful that even the auction block cannot extinguish it. And she's right. Joy wasn't something that came after the struggle, it lived inside it. But somewhere along the way, many of us inherited the lesson that black people, especially in public, especially in spaces where we've historically been surveilled and controlled, must present well. Must not take up too much space, must not be too loud, too playful, too much. Pitter herself recalls being reprimanded as a child for dancing in a shopping mall. Her mother wasn't wrong to teach her that, given the historic context, but we have to ask, what does it cost us to keep living by these rules in the places we've built? Because joy isn't just personal, Pitter calls it civic infrastructure, something as essential to a community as parks and roads. When black people feel free to laugh loudly, to dance at the waterfront, to take up space in Fells Point, the way the neighborhood's history says they have every right to do that, is placemaking. And joy is not the same as happiness. Happiness is a moment. Joy is a foundation. It's built from resilience, from gratitude, from belonging. And belonging requires that a community make room for it, not just tolerate it. So this is not about forgetting the pain of this place. It's about insisting that the full story gets told. The auction blocks in the communities they couldn't destroy. The chains and Frederick Douglass choosing to come back to Fells Point as a free man and build homes here, literally laying foundations on the same ground where he was once enslaved. That's black public joy. Returning to places that tried to break you and flourishing anyway. Here today we have Jace Williams, a freshman biology major, to share his thoughts on the topic. Jace. Jay Pitter writes that joy should be the foundation, not just a glimmer inside a story built on trauma. When you think about your own experience in public spaces, can you remember a moment where you genuinely felt free? What made the place or moment different?
If I had to put on a certain time, that I felt free, I guess the most time when I'm out in public, when I'm free, I guess when I'm surrounded by people who look like me, my friends, my family. When I say people that look like me, I mean black people, specific on it, and that's really when I feel my most free, when I'm not, second guessing myself or seeing how these actions might be perceived by other groups of people. I'm really able to be truly myself, so I cherish those areas.
Interesting. Fells Point has deep roots in black history. Frederick Douglass learned to read here, free families, build community here, and yet that history isn't always visible or celebrated in the neighborhood today. How do you think a community can actively reclaim a space and make black joy feel like it belongs there?
I feel like in order for black people to reclaim a space, I feel like first and foremost we have to see black people start to settle in and move there. You know what I mean? Because I feel like just showing up every once in a while with a couple of your friends or just a couple of black people, I feel like it's really not enough until y'all really integrate into that area and really find yourself a home inside the area. I feel like nothing's really going to change. I live in Philadelphia, And it's mostly black-owned city. And I feel like a lot of the time when you see gentrification happening, it's usually people moving inside of the area that they weren't in before. So I feel like as black people, we kind of have to do the reverse, to where we're going into predominant spaces where we haven't been seen as much. And I guess taking over that area and making it a safe space.
Thank you. Thank you for your responses today, Jace. It was nice having you.
Thank you.
It is not our fault that we carry the discomfort into public spaces, but it's our work to begin deconstructing those narratives, to give ourselves permission to be joyful in public, to see joy not as a luxury we haven't earned, but as a right we've always had. This is Zephan Collins. Thank you for listening.